So many reactions to that story from last night. Red Alert, an investigative piece by our investigative editor, Dennis Okari, talking about safety of food in the country and especially here in the capital city, meat and meat products. He's joining me live in studio right now, Dennis, to talk more about this. Did you anticipate the kind of reactions that you have seen when you were doing this story?
You know, like all the other stories we do, we always, anticipate reactions. Yes. But this one for me slightly surprised me. I've just discovered that the issue goes so deep because I've had people call me, people telling me that they have also witnessed and seen this happen elsewhere.
Yes.
Because my scope of research and investigation was just within Nairobi. So yes, in a way, it did surprise me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So many reactions, like we've said. We did ask our viewers to send in some questions or concerns or, just questions as a follow-up to that story. And we have some of them here. Two people, Angie Nicole on Twitter and Brenda Winsome Oduli on Facebook, asks, we need to know the supermarkets that do this so that we can stop buying from them. Why did you not name the supermarkets?
Oh, well, I think today that has been the most frequently asked question.
Yes.
There are a number of issues. One, I'm a journalist. I'm not a police officer.
Yes.
And you and I have done investigative stories.
Yes.
And you know the scope of you doing these investigative pieces. So my job is to go out there and unearth whatever it is that I'm doing and then bring it to the public, to our audience. That is information I'm passing to the audience. But I don't do research and investigations for purposes of prosecution. For me, it's to pass information.
Okay.
And second thing is, if I was going to mention the 3 supermarkets, because we did get 3 samples from 3 different supermarkets.
Yes.
The problem of mentioning the names of the supermarkets is because my scope was limited to just Nairobi and to just a few branches, because we don't have the kind of resource that the government has. I wish we could do more. So if I say it is this branch and it is under this supermarket, what then I'm going to be doing is throwing a blanket condemnation, and the reaction from the public generally will be just avoid that supermarket as much as possible.
Okay.
And we have others that are elsewhere in other parts of the country that are, selling genuine meat and whatnot. And the other last thing, quickly, if I tell you it is this branch in this supermarket, so you avoid it to jump to another supermarket, that still doesn't make it right, because I didn't investigate the other one to tell you that they're also selling meat that is laced with this chemical. So it was a tricky situation, but we have the names and you forwarded the names to the relevant investigative agencies.
All right. Another question is from Martin Wangwe on Twitter, sharing the same question with Ahmed Karim Ashila on Facebook. After the investigations and airing, then what next? Just sit around and watch the concerned parties do nothing, then move on to another investigative story?
Well, what we do is we do follow-up stories. At the moment, we are currently doing follow-up stories.
Yes.
We're in touch with the Ministry of Health. They have asked to know the supermarkets that have been doing this. We have forwarded the names. All the investigating arms, we may not mention everyone on air, but there's something that we're doing behind the scenes. However, there are those who've been affected and they've been writing as part of reacting to the story and saying that, oh, my baby was going through this, I didn't know. So what we're doing, we're talking to families, we're talking to people who suspect that maybe what they are going through and what they're suffering from is connected to the meat they've been buying from some of the supermarkets. So we're doing follow-up stories. All right.
Gladys Mutunga on Facebook says, besides the flies, how else can we know that meat is good for human consumption and has no SMS?
I posed that question to our insider because that was also my concern. The day I got the story, the previous night, I also had bought minced meat from one of the supermarkets. And that was my first concern. So how do I know if this meat is laced with the chemical? And he told me, you can't tell. So the answer is, there is no way of telling.
Even if you don't see the flies?
Even if you don't see the flies, unless you take this to a lab like what we did, which is very, very expensive.
It means we are screwed then.
Yes, that's what it means.
All right. Charles Mureithi on Facebook also says, is there a way that this chemical, the SMS, can be removed? Maybe by washing or soaking the meat into water? And is it used on chunk meat, which is sold as one item, or just diced meat? We did see a bit of mincemeat and chopped
the diced
off
meat.
pieces.
One of the secrets our insider gave me, it didn't come quite clearly in the story. He told me the minced meat and the diced meat, those are the best when it comes to lacing this with the chemicals. But if you go to a supermarket or you go to a butchery, insist on getting a fresh cut from what you see, from the cow at the back. From that meat you see at the back, just ask for a fresh cut. Don't go for what is on the display. However, it's not very easy to know whether this, again, is exposed to the chemicals or not. It's not very easy.
Just goes on to tell you how much
It's not getting any
difficult this
better,
is
right?
going to be for our viewers. Kerry Steph and Solomon Mokua on Facebook, both of them asking, this is very serious. What is the Ministry of Health doing about it? We've just aired a story about a task force that is going to be created by the Ministry of Health. But have you spoken to them? And why did you not go to them directly in your story?
Well, initially we did. We always try to cover all angles, and we get all the experts. However, there are those who are not willing to speak to us as we were, as I was doing the report, and then now they're reacting. For the Ministry of Health, what they've done is this morning they spoke to us and they told us they're putting a task force together to investigate this, and they want to come up with a comprehensive statement once they are done with what they are going to be collecting from the field. So we're expecting that anytime tomorrow or within the week to get a statement from the Ministry of Public Health.
All right, finally, is the food that we consume in the capital city and indeed elsewhere in the country safe? Would you say that, having seen what you have seen?
To be quite honest, I am not really an expert in that area. I can't conclusively tell you it is safe or if it's not safe or if it is safe. I can only tell you from the things that I've observed and the people that I've talked to, there are certain things that personally I'm going to avoid, but it's difficult because you run away from the vegetables, you'll find it in the fruits. You run away from the fruits, you'll find it in the meat. If you run away from the beef, you find it in the chicken. So you're thinking, so what else are we going to eat? And someone joked and said, the only thing tutakula labda ni neno la Mungu. But you can't do that.
Because even there have been concerns about water as well. Something as simple
water
and pure
and
as
milk.
water. Can you
a lot
imagine?
of people are actually saying that we also need to look at the milk that is also sold in some of these markets. We need to investigate that. Of course, it's something we're looking into, but let's just hope that something will come up from the relevant agencies to try and see that we eat things that are good from our markets.
Safe. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okari, our investigative editor, talking about Red Alert, the questions that people have been asking, you, the viewer, have been asking about that story that aired last night on NTV. Stay tuned because we'll be doing a lot of follow-ups and discussions on this.